Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. And today we are discussing a story that has stunned not only Washington's strategic community, but the global strategic community. The story is about the arrest and pre-trial release of Ashley J. Tellis, one of America's most influential foreign policy thinkers and a senior fellow at Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. We have with us Mr. N.C. Bipindra to discuss this. And Bipindra ji, thank you so much for taking time out from your busy schedule. And Bipindra ji has also earlier been with us, and he is a former defense correspondent of Bloomberg, and he is also the founder of Law and Society Alliance, a prestigious think tank in Delhi. Apart from that, he contributes regularly on defense and strategic affairs as well as geopolitics to various national and international journals. And Bipindra ji, so before we move ahead for our viewers, I'll just set up a context. So, Tellis, who has often been described as an architect of the US-India strategic partnership, is now facing serious legal scrutiny in US with reports suggesting possible links to a Chinese espionage network. But there's another layer to this story also. In recent months, Tellis has been sharply critical of India, from questioning its democratic credentials to casting doubts on the future of the India-US partnership. So the point is, was this just an intellectual independence, or was there something deeper going on? So today we'll unpack all these facts, the speculation, the broader implications for India-US relations, and the credibility of the think tank ecosystem that shapes global strategy. So I'll go ahead with the first question. So first, let's see. Let's look at who is Ashley J. Tellis really. Is he a trusted strategist who shaped the US-India ties, or he is someone else whose recent actions and writings reveal a different agenda altogether? Bipindra ji.
Thank you, Arun Anandji. It's a pleasure to be on this, and it's a very interesting topic in the sense that the entire world is now observing what is going on with Ashley Tellis, and also about how this arrest is going to shape the entire, the South Asian geopolitics for the US essentially. So there is also a China element into this story. So that makes it a huge cocktail. Maybe it's a Molotov mocktail, we can say. So that's the kind of explosiveness that this particular story has brought about in the strategic affairs community in the entire world. See, Ashley J. Tellis, as you, a lot of people would already know that he is an Indian-born American strategic affairs specialist. Particularly, his expertise, so-called expertise, lies in India and South Asian geopolitics. So that is where he comes in handy and useful to the United States. So at least since 2001, Ashley Tellis has been very helpful, or in fact, he came in handy for the US administration, starting with George W. Bush, who was a Republican president of the US. But not just Bush, he continued even during the Democrats' administration, including Obama's administration, and he has been continuously, supporting or formulating the South Asian geopolitical policy for the United States administration. So he has an importance in the US administration in that he has worked both in the Department of State, which actually handles diplomacy and external relations of the US, and also Department of Defense, the earlier erstwhile Department of Defense. Trump in his 2.0 term has renamed it as Department of War. So he has continuously been there. He has been an integral part of Pentagon. He has been an integral part of the Department of State, or the State Department as colloquially called. So he has been, but the point is, within the United States, he's not such a big, well-known name. But in the South Asian context, he's a very important, big name. He gets invited to the big top geopolitical and strategic affairs events of the country. Maybe he has visited even Raisina dialogue. If I check it, I will be able to find out if he's there in among the list of speakers who come for such big events in Delhi. And New Delhi has been welcoming him, fetting him, kind of giving him a lot of importance and platforms and stages for him to come and speak about the US-India relationship. And also, he is also credited with some of the most significant and profound movements in the India-US relationship since 2001. It's almost like 2.5 decades now. So, in the initial years of his association with the George W. Bush administration. So he is credited for bringing in the Indo-US nuclear deal, which was actually finalized in 2008. The discussion was on for some time, and in 2008 it was decided. And he was also contributing to the Obama administration on issues like defense technological cooperation with India. So these are some of the contributions that he have made. So even during the Trump's administration, he has kind of that pivot towards the Indian relationship was also credited to him. What has happened in the recent years is that is he a very useful chap for the US administration? Of course, he was very useful in the initial years. Is he useful to the Indian government? Not so much, even in those years. He was essentially taking care of the American interests in the region, essentially. So that is what his background is. So he was completely entrenched in the US administration as far as India and South Asian affairs are concerned. So incidentally, he was such a good at interpersonal skills that he established contact with some of the top Indian diplomats, top government executives in India during the course of both the UPA government and also in the present NDA government in the last 3 terms of Narendra Modi ji. So he was a welcome person as far as India is concerned. But what has happened in the recent years is that in the last at least a year now, Ashley Tellis has been writing, at least in the Trump 2.0 administration, his writings have gone anti-India in the recent months. So he has been, in fact, in Foreign Affairs, which is a very popular magazine, geopolitical magazine. He wrote a piece where the headline was "How India had become a bad bet for the Americans." So that was the headline that he had given. So he had also written in a few other, you know, uh, uh, geopolitical magazines of international caliber that India has been a wasted effort by the Americans. That India, as he has criticized the Indian stance on multipolarity or its strategic neutrality, strategic independence. So these are some of the issues that he has been criticizing. Not just that, he has been also involuntarily or giving unsolicited advice to the Indian government on what arms and ammunitions and what military equipment that they should buy. So finally, the sudden eruption of Ashley Tellis's arrest has sort of silenced the entire gamut of government executives both in the US and in India. They have been silenced completely. They have gone silent completely. I don't think the Ministry of External Affairs also reacted to this arrest till now. And so that is the situation. But essentially, Ashley Tellis is a person who worked in his own self-interest. Let us be very clear about it. I've been noticing him, watching him, regularly, his writings and his engagements, all that. My assessment is that he has always worked in his self-interest. So if you let us, I mean, if you want me to go deep into what has happened in the US on his arrest, I can tell you a few more details of what has happened.
Yes, sure, sure. Please, please
If
go
it
ahead.
interests you. Okay, so what has happened is that the US Attorney General's office has raided Ashley Tellis' home in Virginia, where they found a lot of thousands and thousands of pages, at least 1,000 page of classified information, classified document that are essentially kept a secret in both the Department of State and then in the Pentagon. So he had a security clearance where he could go and access and work on those files, read them back, take notes, and come back. but essentially, I mean, very secretive locations where the access is so controlled. There are cabins where, if meetings are held, they are soundproof. The sound does not go, essentially to prevent acoustic surveillance and spying. So these kind of places are there. So he had access to them. He went, took out documents, photocopied them, and took it back to his residence. So those they have found, and also they found that Ashley Tellis has been meeting the Chinese uh, spies, Chinese diplomats, and others in Washington in a certain few restaurant in Virginia, where on a couple of occasions was seen discussing India-US relationship, Iran-US relationship, and also US-Pakistan relationship with the Chinese agents. I mean, I'm putting both diplomats and spies into the agents category. So he was seen meeting them, and on a couple of occasions he was also seen carrying a folder, a Manila folder as it is called in the US, which is essentially enables you to put papers into that and use it as a file or something. Sometimes these are all indexed also. You can index them also. That's the kind of facility. So he was found carrying those folders and leaving it on the table and not collecting it back when he was leaving the restaurant. So that was picked up by the Chinese agents and they took it back. So the suspicion, I mean, the documents in the US attorney's case, which has been filed in the courts, does not very specifically say that. It's all currently allegations. So it is also mandatory that until proven guilty, the person is innocent. So that is assumed in the case. So they are not proclaiming him guilty at this point in time, or the US has not proclaimed him guilty. The court process will take its due course, and at the end, whatever comes out will come out. So essentially, this is the scenario. And sometimes during these meetings at Virginia restaurants, he has also collected the gifts that were given to him by the Chinese. So, Abhi, we need to talk about the folder and also the gift bags. The folder may contain just all his articles that he has written here and there. That is also a possibility, which doesn't prove spying because it's all in public domain. But it could also contain confidential classified documents. When I say classified documents, there's classification in these documents which called top secret or secret, confidential. These are the kind of classifications that are given. The top secret is one of the highest level of classification, and also there is other classification for the eyes only classification where the number of people who can actually see those files is also listed. So that is for your eyes only documents. So these are all classifications for secret defense diplomatic documents. So it could be that also. We currently don't know what was there in the folder. And the gift cab bag, usually the Chinese in the earlier days used to have this habit of distributing the writings of Mao Zedong, or in the present day maybe Xi Jinping's documents are being supplied or handed over to these people. So that is a possibility. Or there are some things like the Chinese are promoting a lot of their new vision for the world. So those those documents could also have been given. When I say documents, it could be public document. I'm not saying, but it was also a possibility that it had huge high value gifts, like maybe some dollars or some yuans, or some gold, plated, I mean gold items, some very Hublot watches or something, some costly watches. It can be anything. So we don't know exactly at this point what had happened. But one thing comes out of this court thing is that this Ashley Tellis was being monitored by the US government since the previous government, the diplomats, the Democrat rule of Joe Biden. So he was being watched since that time, at least since 2022 has been watched. So there is something concrete that has happened. Unless this, otherwise this kind of a harass wouldn't have happened. Of course, he has been released by the court pending the trial. So we'll see how this progresses and goes about. So that is the
So,
present scenario.
so what does it tell us about, let's talk about how it will impact the India-US relationship. Will it have
Right.
impact on India-US relationship?
Uh, well, it can impact the India-US relationship in the sense that one of the topmost advisors on the US is currently, in a position where he has been suspended from all his engagements. A lot of think tanks have, boycott, removed him from their list of, advisors or, expert panels and stuff like that. So, obviously, he has lost his job in the Pentagon and in the Department of State. So that in fact, one of the things interesting thing that came out of the court document is that he was planning to travel to Italy. Interestingly, this fellow has bought a retirement home in Italy. Ashley J. Tellis. So their suspicion was that he realized that he was being surveilled by the US administration, and probably he would fly out and never come back to the US. So that suspicion was also there, that fear was also there. It is there in the court document. So because of which they had to arrest him currently. So what has happened is the US administration has shunted him out of all his, job in the US administration. His security clearance has been withdrawn, and all the think tanks in the US have removed him from their expert panel, advisory board, this, that, and everything. So he's been completely now off any of these engagements that happen, both formal government-to-government engagements or the tier two or the tier one engagements where these non-governmental efforts keep happening. These kind of informal meetings of people who shape policy for either side of the government. So now he's going to be off all that. So that way, Ashley Tellis going away is sort of going to impact this kind of engagements that happen. He was considered to be a very important advisor to the US government. So the engagement that the Indian government or the Indian officials had with him was to enable Indian point of view on issues. So that kind of a gap will be felt in the years to come, in the months to come, because this guy is not there till somebody else replaces him in the Department of State and the Department of War. So that will be there. But will it affect the government to government relationship? Of course, after Trump to uh, so on the May 2025 Operation Sindur, our both our relationship has gone for a toss. Prime Minister Modi is not even willing to see President Trump's face anymore, and the ASEAN meeting in Malaysia has been, like cancelled because the PM is not traveling. So all that situation has developed. So will it affect? Not much. I don't think it will affect much at that level. At the top level engagement, it won't affect. But the second run engagement obviously will be affected. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. The other thing about Ashley Tellis is he's not being considered as an Indian, even in the US administration. He's considered an American. He studied in Mumbai and then went to Chicago, did his PhD there, and then settled down in the US, became a US citizen and all that. So he's looked at as an American. But the only factor which kind of is concerning is the China link here, the Chinese link here, which is a little bit concerning.
Yeah, I wanted to
So
talk about that. What does it tell about, the Chinese espionage networks, and especially because I myself have tracked it and I had done a series of articles on the Chinese spy networks. So, and recently, there has been you have also written recently about doing a follow up on the Times investigation, which
yes,
talks about how the honey traps are used in the Silicon Valley by the
correct,
Chinese espionage networks. So, and interesting thing is that people talk about RAW, Mossad, CIA, but people hardly talk about the Chinese espionage networks. So,
yeah,
so what does it? What is the message if so far he has not been held guilty, but the Chinese spying networks or the Chinese espionage network angle, it forms the core of this whole Ashley J. Tellis episode. So,
correct.
how do you look at it?
Well, this kind of indicates that the Chinese have been playing the game very smartly for a very long time. Though Ashley Tellis meetings, the ones that I refer to, the court documents talk of series of dates where he held meetings with the Chinese side. But the thing is, they were all held at a public place, like in a restaurant where multiple people visit and all that, there have been could have been some secret meetings also between Ashley Tellis and we don't know. I mean, the story that you just referred to, which I wrote about recently, about how sex espionage or sex warfare was being used by the Chinese to woo and entice, the American tech industry leadership, and they used to get even married, and then the bedroom secrets, how much of the secrets were revealed in a bedroom conversation between the tech industry leader as the husband or a boyfriend of a of a sex warfare worker of the Chinese Communist Party. So this thing, quite possibly, Ashley Tellis, I don't know his sexual orientation, but at least, I mean, this could have been a possibility. If he was straight, then it could be a sex worker of the feminine gender. If he was gay, then it could be that is all a possibility, and I have no qualms or problems with people's sexual orientation. It's their wish and what they want to do in their bedrooms is their personal life. But becoming a victim of spying or becoming a willing partner in spying is a major issue, major crime. It certainly borders on treachery. So that is where the problem lies. But what does it indicate? What does this Chinese spy involvement or Chinese agent involvement in this entire episode indicate? It indicates how the Chinese spy network is well entrenched. So they have multiple agencies which do this job. So they have this United Front Works Department, which is a major, uh, department which is part of the CCP, the Communist Party of China, not part of the Chinese state, but still they have a huge influence on the Chinese state and also on the diplomatic relationship that the Chinese people have, including their tech leaders. All their big tech companies from China, they are also controlled by the UFWD department, UFW department, United Front Works Department. So essentially, the United Front Works Department is a department which takes care of the entire gamut of the CCP's activities to further the CCP's entrenchment or hold on the Chinese nation. So that is and also the occupied territories of Tibet, East Turkestan, Southern Mongolia, Manchuria, and all these places to how to hold control. That role has expanded to the global stage now. So they want to influence people in every other nation. There are multiple books which have documented this influence operations by the Chinese, how they operate. If people, your viewers are interested, they can go and read them. I will give you four recommendations. One, the book's name is Chinese Spies, and it's been written by a writer called Roger Folligot. Fantastic book. It kind of talks about the Chinese spy activities right from Mao Zedong to Xi Jinping, and it's written in a very story kind of a novel kind of a format. So if you read them, you will find it quite interesting. So that's a great book to read if your viewers are interested. The other book I would recommend is called as Spies and Lies. How it's written by a writer called Alex Joske, and that also kind of deals with how the Chinese operate, their spies operate, and it traces various incidents and events that have happened involving the Chinese, how they fooled the world on multiple occasions. That's the story that Spies and Lies talks about. The third one I'm going to recommend is called as Silent Invasion. This is a book by a fantastic writer called Clive Hamilton. So his book talks about how the Chinese influence politicians, academicians, Chinese nationals who have migrated and settled down in Australia, film stars. So how politicians, how they kind of influence these people to take a pro-China stand in the government policy formulation. It's a great book. It's essentially about Australia, but it gives you a broad idea of what the Chinese capabilities are in terms of their spying operation and influence operation. And the fourth and the last I would recommend is called as Hidden Hand. This is again a book which talks about how the Chinese have influenced the entire world and made the entire, almost the entire world to take a stand which is pro-China. I mean, we have now the world has woken up, but these books gave a clear idea of what. And again, this was written by Clive Hamilton and Marike Holberg. It's the two authors there. So they have written this book. I would recommend all of you, your viewers, to take a look at these books and read them. It gives you a complete idea of how how money is used. How I call it as the 4 Ds: drugs, drinks, dollars, and damsels. When I say damsel, everybody will think that I'm a little sexist, but let us admit men are the weaker gender. So let's admit that. So these 4 Ds are used by the Chinese to influence people, to trap them into their spying network and getting their job done, whether it is extracting secret documents from your government departments or to make people, opinion makers, influencers, and leaders to write and do work in favor of Communist Party of China. So this is what this indicates actually.
So, Bipinji, my last question is that what does it tell about, the think tank ecosystem? See, largely the US think tank ecosystem is considered to be, an ideal system in the sense that they have this culture of think tanks, and nowadays there's a lot of talk in India that if you really want to be a superpower, so then you have to have that culture of think tanks, and a lot of think tanks have come up. You also run a think tank of
Yeah,
your own.
yeah.
So, what are the lessons which India need to learn, and how do you look at this US ecosystem of the think tanks? So, are they actually becoming the fronts of the different countries, or we see organizations like I had done a piece recently on Hizbut Tahrir. So Hizbut Tahrir has been banned in UK recently, but not in US. And we see a lot of think tanks also kind of promoting the uh, Islamist ideologies. So
Yes.
how do you see this culture? This are they becoming a front for basically the foreign spies? And what are the
Uh,
which India need to learn?
yes. So the think tank culture is a big culture. It's essentially an American culture which has spread to all other parts of the world. So think tanks essentially were originally they were used as the front for the CIA to do operations in different places. So that was there are two utilities of a think tank. One, they are a non-governmental effort to at reading, policy and its impact at a non-governmental level, at an independent level, without any government intervention, so that you get an actual idea of what's happening on the ground, which is the kind of work that law and social does. We do independent work. We don't take any help from anybody. We fund our own efforts and we do our work. That is one utility of this. Second utility is like the Ford Foundation or or these big names. So all these big names became the front for CIA. They were funded by these outlets or these governmental agencies which wanted to do some influence operations and stuff like that, and also spying work. So all that. So they used to hire these experts, so-called experts, to do research and do write on reports that are favoring their government, and these experts also became a target of spying activities by other nations. Like for example, we talked about China and its. So these guys become a real target because some of these think tanks also get access to government records, whether it is the US or India, or I mean, you name the country, they also get. access to government records. They also get access to the government executives. They also get access to the top leadership of the government of the day. The state executives, they have access. So they are a very important point where you can extract a lot of information from them through casual conversations on policy. So they indulge in such activities. So the think tanks are essentially meant for these two purposes. So most of them are willing partners in the deep states' plans, nefarious plans to infiltrate other nations, to establish contact in other nations and stuff like that. So the think tank is a big industry today, and a lot of people uh, get a lot of funding from big corporates and all. So our George Soros is one of the big funders of these kind of activities in several places. So this thing is there, but the idea that India should also have a lot of think tank and make an effort at that effort, I accept and agree that it's a requirement. The government should seriously think of establishing these kind of big help in establishing big think tanks. If you look at the World Think Tank Index, at least I mean some years back I had a copy of that in think tank index, which I will. This is a dated data, but the data is that Indian think tanks, either it is think tanks like the IDSA, which is the Institute for Defense and Strategic Analysis, you know, Institute for Defense and yeah.
Yes.
So IDSA is
Yes.
a big,
Which
yeah,
is now Manohar Parrikar Institute of
which is
Defense.
Manohar Parrikar Institute of
Defense and
that,
Strategy.
yeah,
Yeah, IDS, yeah, MPID.
IDSA, MPIDSA. So even that big think tank does not fall under the top 100 think tanks of the world. It is now 112, 113. When the data I had seen, I think it's a little dated, but that's what private think tanks, Observer Research Foundation, that also doesn't figure in the top 100. Okay. I mean, these are two of the big ones. In the recent years, Vivekananda International Foundation has become a big one. It doesn't rank in the top 100. Okay, so that is the situation that we are in. So, but it's very important that we have big, establishments like these. When people talk of think tanks, they talk of American think tanks mostly, and maybe some European think tanks. Australian Policy Institute is also coming up in a big way. You don't read much about Chinese think tank or an Indian think tank or even a Pakistani think tank. Nobody talks about. So they don't rank in the think tanks with great influence. So it's important we have it. It's important we have it for the tier two, tier three engagements with other nations, with people who are able to invite them, have an engagement and all that. So it is very good for idea exchanges and this kind of activity, and also to see how relationships could be built between two nations through the think tank engagements and all that. So it's helpful in diplomacy, and I would recommend Indian government should seriously think on this, and also the Indian industrialists, big industrialists, to think on it. Now ORF is said to be funded by the Ambanis of Reliance. Then now Adani has started one think tank called the Chintan Research Foundation. It's said to be funded by Chintan Research Foundation, said to be funded by Adani. So similarly, but you would ask me immediately, what about the Tatas? The Tatas are funding Carnegie Endowment. They are not funding anything in India. So Tata should do it. What about Godrej's? Or what about anybody else? Any other big? What about Mahindras? So they should get involved in this. Of course, the Nadar, Shiv Nadar, their HCL and all that, they have established a university here, and Mahindra has also established a university. So these kind of activity is now kind of progressing. These are all, mind you, the last 10, 12 years of work that has happened. Of course, Vivekananda International Foundation got established a while back, but they got prominence only after 2014, when a series of personalities from Vivekananda International Foundation found a place as government executives in the Narendra Modi government. Not until then. So people started finding VF Vivekananda International Foundation useful. So they started engaging with them. So it's very important. But the only thing we should be careful about is we need to vet all these people. Ashley Tellis is example is one. So we need to vet people before we engage with them. Okay, I have a Law and Society Alliance has brought out a report on Chinese influence operations in India. If you go through that, it's only a 72-page report. If you go through the report, you will see that a lot of so-called think tanks in India were all doing the Chinese bidding, Chinese Communist Party bidding, taking funds from them. They were also being funded by the Indian government, but they were not doing the Indian government's requirement. They were doing the Chinese government's requirement. Okay, Institute of Chinese Studies was one of those institutions, and it's considered to be the one of the earliest Chinese studies institution in India, and considered to be great. The government was giving project after project on China to this institute. Okay,
I think it's an interesting event which is unfolding, and the way it goes when it comes to the espionage cases. Or actually, right now, Ashley Tellis has been he was arrested under the Espionage Act, but he has not been accused of
he has
actually
not been accused of espionage as of
espionage.
today,
He has been
as of
accused
today.
of holding the secret.
Holding classified information, secret
Yeah.
information.
But it also happens in such cases, Bipindraji, that the FBI would not like to say too much in the code. So
No,
if,
they may not, because see,
yeah,
once you tell things in court, it becomes a matter of public record.
yeah. So
So when
that's
it becomes a
that's
matter of
so
public record, there will be lawyers who will come and question you on those secret information, and it becomes
So
more
it's
information will
actually
reveal.
only the tip of the iceberg which we know,
Correct,
because
correct,
whatever can be put for
correct.
public consumption, so that thing has only been put. And the
Yeah,
way
like correct,
it goes, as analysts say that the when such cases come, the agencies, the government agencies, they keep on revealing gradually in a multi-layered format
correct.
a little more information to put
It-
pressure on the person to plead
correct.
guilty and
It did. Yes.
come to.
No, see, here there is two aspects. One is if you do espionage, it's a much serious crime. So it's a much serious offense. So classified information, holding classified information, it's a much lesser offense. So generally, they put pressure on the person to plead guilty, take a plea bargain, and then exit with a minimum punishment. So that is what they try to do. The agencies usually try to do that. The attorney office, the U.S. Attorney General's office, usually tries to do that. There have been several previous cases also. See, it's not Ashley Tellis alone who has been accused of holding on to this information. Even Donald Trump's, when his this Fargo was raided, they found a document. Hillary Clinton has been accused of that. Several former CIA directors and
What makes it more serious is that the fact that he was meeting the Chinese
Chinese agents. That is what
delegation,
makes it
Chinese
more.
people basically, and were going inside with a manila envelope, leaving it there, and then coming out at times with gifts. And
Yeah,
you made an argument, and that's very valid. And some other commentators have also made this argument that this manila envelope might be containing only, his articles, but and what he is getting in return might be basically some propaganda literature by the Chinese. But in this digital age, it's too simplistic to believe that if anybody wants to have access, so of course, and somebody like Ashley Tallis, so he would be continuously tracked by the Chinese. So going there with the article. So, but for the sake of the argument, basically what you were trying to say is that innocent till proven guilty. So
correct.
that's the case, but it's a very interesting thing which is holding up, and I think it's also a lesson for India to uh, have more credible voices who can
yes.
actually basically speak for them within the Western world. So, to nurture
You know,
these voices,
see,
yeah,
let us understand neither Ashley Tellis nor those Chinese agents are naive.
yeah,
Okay, let us let us be very sure of that.
yes, yes,
And the problem is most of these the experts, so-called experts who are in the US today, they're all accommodated because they were doing the US bidding. Let's
yes, yes,
let's be very
absolutely,
clear about that
absolutely.
also.
So we should look at basically Espionage Tellis not as basically an India guy, and he was basically a US guy. He was bidding for the US interests, and now he has got caught by the US administration, and he's on trial. And he'll go for basically the trial will start, and he has got a 1.5 million dollars bond. On that bond, he has been released by the US justice system. So the story is still unfolding. We'll keep on tracking it, and also the keep a close track on the Chinese, espionage networks, what they are doing in rest of the world also. And we'll be back soon with another episode. And thank you, Bipindraji, so much for breaking this down, because
Thank you
it's
so
a
much.
very complex issue
Yes.
and very messy, but kind of unfolding like a super thriller.
Yeah. The
So,
punishment if Ashley Tellis is found guilty is 10 years and $250,000, which is about 2 crore plus 2 crore 20,000 rupees or something like that.
and he's
So
already
sorry, 2 crore
64.
20 lakh rupees
Okay, and
in
he's
the
already
Indian.
64.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you, viewers, for watching this, and we'll be back soon. Thank you.
So, thank you.